boom, 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 boom.
Everyone, and welcome back to another great episode on the Hope and Renewal Podcast. This is where faith meets real life and hard truth is held with compassion. Again, this is your favorite host, Antonio Banks. I want to take the time to thank you for tuning in, and I hope and pray that this message speaks to your heart. And if it does, that you do not keep it to yourself, but you will share it with somebody else. As always, you know me, there's always a story behind everything we talk about. There's always a lesson in everything we talk about. And I hope and pray that what we talk about, that you take it as a lesson. Everything that we talk about has a moment of truth tucked inside it. And today's episode, it started in the most ordinary place, at break or at work. Three of us just sitting around talking about failure. It was just a small talk, just at first, nothing deep. Then one of the guys looked up and said something that stopped me dead in my tracks. I've never failed at anything in my life before. Hold up 1 minute. Now, if you've been listening to this podcast for any amount of time, you already know me. And you know how the Hope and Renewal Podcast do things. Statements like that hit different. And it's not because I want to see people fail, because I know what failure is like. It's not because I'm judging, because I know what it's like to be judged. It's because failure is an inevitable part of the journey. Every one of us has failed at something. We failed probably in relationships, as parents, reaching goals, having habits. We've even promised quietly what we did to ourselves. We've made promises to ourselves that we've never kept. Failure isn't the enemy, though. Failure is the teacher. And before I could respond, the conversation shifted again. Another guy was quiet the whole time. He looked up and said this: sometimes you just have to dream a little. I paused. I let it settle in the room. Then I asked him to repeat it, which he did. Sometimes you just got to dream. And respectfully, I told him I disagreed. And it's not because dreaming is wrong. It's not because hope is bad. And it's not because faith doesn't require imagination. It was because sometimes we become so obsessed with making our dreams come true that we start limiting God to the size of our dream. We start chasing the picture we created instead of the purpose God is preparing. And let me tell you something. What is the difference between your picture and His purpose? And that's where many of us get stuck. Some of us confuse movement with purpose. Just because you're working doesn't mean you're walking in your calling. Just because you're busy doesn't mean you're building. Some of us build things God never told us to make. We build things because it felt right, because it looked right, because it sounded right, because we saw someone else do it. And then later we look back and realize That wasn't God's plan. That was mine. What we do, we beg God for open doors, but we keep trying to reopen the ones He already closed. Some of us are standing in front of a deadbolt with a spiritual crowbar, trying to force something that God has said no to. A lot of our dreams, we have to understand, comes from stress, insecurity, exhaustion, something we binge watched the night before, and sometimes fear, memories, trauma. But we have to understand also that not all dreams are divine direction. The mistake we do make is believing every dream has meaning, treating every vision like a prophecy, thinking every idea is from God. And when it doesn't happen, we blame God for a plan He never gave us. And I want to give you a couple of examples real quick. I know some mornings, and I know men and women have went through this. Somebody had a bad dream, woke up upset, thinking they cheated. And then you're sitting there like, babe, it was a dream. And then you hear this: I hope you would never do that to me. Now, all of a sudden, something that only lived in their mind, it is shaping the emotions, the trust, and sometimes it ruins mornings or afternoons. And that's precisely what happens when you let dreams become your reality. Yeah, some dreams, come out of fear, like we said. Some are wounds we haven't healed. And if we're not careful, we start holding people accountable for things that never happened. We wind up arguing about situations that never occurred. We even carry emotional weight from something God never intended us to pick up. But what I would like for you to do is listen closely. This is where we get confused. Dreaming and imagining are not the same thing. Imagination gives you something to chase. For instance, like goals. It points a picture of what's possible. It motivates you and it pushes you. It builds businesses, ministries, books, goals, and growth. Dreams, they give you something to reflect on, which is not always something to build on, unless God sends a dream. Yes, God does speak through dreams, and the Bible proves that. Let's talk about Joseph, Mary's husband. He doesn't talk much in scripture, but his obedience is loud. And God spoke to Joseph through 4 dreams, and each dream carried a divine instruction. Dream 1: don't leave Mary, this is my plan. Dream 2: flee to Egypt. Herod wants to kill the children. Dream number 3: it's safe, return to Israel. And dream number 4: avoid Judea, go to Galilee instead. These dreams weren't random, and they weren't emotional. They weren't even fear-based. They weren't insecurity-based. They were God's direction. Joseph didn't just dream. Then he acted on it. There's Pilate's wife. One dream, one morning, one message. Matthew 27:19 says this: have nothing to do with that righteous man. Though she was not a believer and she was not a follower of Jesus, God still used a dream to warn her, and through her to warn Pilate. But like most of us do, Pilate did the same thing. He ignored it. He chose the crowd over conviction. What Pilate teaches us is this: God may wake you up, but he won't force you to get up. God may warn you, but he won't make you listen. God may reveal the truth, but he won't drag you into obedience. Now listen for a second. This is where many of us get stuck. Dreams don't change the world, goals do. Dreams inspire you, goals transform you. Dreams give you the picture, goals give you the blueprint. Dreams live in your mind, goals live in your steps. Your imagination is the birthplace of your future, though. Your discipline is the pathway to it. Some of you have the imagination, but not the consistency. Some of you have the idea, but not the action. Some of you have vision, but no follow through. And Pilate saw the truth, but didn't act on it. And please don't repeat that mistake. God will give you vision, warning, creativity, conviction, and direction and imagination. What he will not force any of it into reality. That part is up to you. Your breakthrough isn't waiting on a dream, it's waiting on your obedience. When you stop dreaming about the life you want and start building the life God assigned to you, when your imagination stops being an escape and becomes a mission, everything changes. Your imagination becomes your reality. Your goals become your testimony. Your steps become your legacy. And as we close today, let me leave you with two powerful questions. When God sends a warning or vision, will you act on it or let the noise of the world drown it out? Are you willing to stop dreaming about the life you want and start imagining or start building the life God had already showed you? I want you to think about that, pray about that, then act on it. I want to thank you for spending this time with me on the Hope and Renewal Podcast. This episode was called The Dreamer. Until next time, stay focused, stay faithful, and stay grounded in what God is building in you. God's not finished with you yet. And if you can, please, if you are listening, take the time to comment, review, leave a rating on any platform that you listen to podcasts. Thank you.
Boom, 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 boom.